What is up, real ones? Today we are going to learn a little bit about the bench press, and we're going to break it down into 3 simple setup tricks that are going to set your bench up for success in all your endeavors moving forward. I mean, assuming that you want to lift heavier weight. I think all of us do. Well, let's get into it, real ones. Tip number 1 is going to be all about the dreaded arch. Look, I need you to lean in right here. An arch is not wrong on the bench press. Okay? Now that we got that out of the way. So I'm going to kind of show you how I set up with the arch, but essentially, you got to find the level of comfort for you, your mobility on your spine, what just kind of makes sense with you. But essentially, all that we're doing is instead of lying flat in the bench, so imagine a bench is right here, instead of kind of lying flat and really just relying on your chest, what creating a small arch does is you pull your shoulder blades back. You'll see now my chest is more flared out, so it helps give you more strength at the bottom of your lift, as well as putting your spine in a better position to keep your lats and your back tight to help propel that bar forward. So this is, flat back, and then this is the arch. It's a much greater position of power. And here, I'm going to show you how I set up, but obviously you got to find what's comfortable for you too. All right, so essentially, I'll come over to you. Essentially, no matter which one you choose or how arched you are going to be, you're going to do some form of setup. Some people shoot back like I do. Some people just kind of go up and get set. Some people have their butt off on the unrack. It's a whole gamut of ways you can get into this position, but find the position that makes sense to you. And I'll show you the difference here between flat back and a little bit of an arch. All right, so traditional bro benching, you kind of just here, back's flat, you got your legs there, boom, you're benching. And you are just puffing it out with your chest. That's what this is. What I'm saying you should do, what I'm suggesting, however you want to get into it, pull those shoulder blades back and down, get yourself in position, and there. If you see, there's some air under my back, a little space for sky. But essentially, by tightening those shoulder blades, you're putting your entire body into a coil. And the idea is you want to stay as still as you can with the rest of your body and transfer all of your entire body's power into that bar. And this position sets you up in a much better way to push through your legs, get it into your torso, and just fucking power through that bad boy. There you go. That's all there is to it. All right, on to the second tip today is going to be all about the feet. Where do you put your feet in the bench press? How do you use proper leg drive? Let's get into it. So I'm going to show you how I set up in a minute, but essentially there's 2 camps. You can either go full flat-footed or you can go up on your toes. Honestly, I've used both in my powerlifting career. These days, I prefer flat foot. I feel more solid. But the biggest benefit I've seen is if you go on your toes and try to drive your heel down, which we'll talk about in just a second, you have a lot better chance of keeping your butt on the bench if that's a problem you struggle with. That's actually something I used to have a real problem with. That's why I was always on my toes. More recently, I've found it more stable, and I personally get more power with flat feet. But let me go show you the 2 options, and you can pick for yourself. So as we mentioned, there's essentially 2 primary camps. I'm going to go show you what I do first, and then we're going to move into on toes as well. So for flat-footed first, you get set up on your bench. And the key is, even though your feet are flat on the ground, which this isn't a great example because I have a bump there, even though your feet are flat, you still want to think about driving through your heels. So essentially, you should be able to, in theory, curl your toes up and still be able to get that full leg drive that you need. But by setting up and kind of locking yourself in tight, you have that slight arch in your back, your shoulder blades are pulled back, your body is tight. Shove all that you can with your lower body right into those heels. That is what's going to carry you through on the rest of the bench. But essentially, this is the flat foot option. Now, like I mentioned, if you have kind of an issue with your butt coming up, another viable option is using going up on your toes. So that looks more like, excuse my bench, that looks more like this. So the key is you actually want to shove your whole body down a little bit lower so that essentially you can't, essentially all that does is lock your legs in. It makes it so you shouldn't be able to put your heels down. This isn't the best example as I'm doing it now, but essentially you want to get to the point where you're here, your toes are the only thing touching the ground, but you're thinking about driving your heels down. And if you notice, that really tenses my legs and like gets that much sturdier now. So with toes, the key is hold balls of the feet down and then still drive those heels down, but they shouldn't be able to hit the ground or just barely hitting the ground. That's the toe method. Really helps give you the strength, but also helps you keep your butt down. All right, arguably my most important tip is tip number 3 here, and that is the Bulldog grip. All it is essentially, instead of a standard bench press grip, you're just turning your hands in and getting a little bit of that internal rotation there, so the bar lays on more of the meat of your hands. Essentially, it's called a Bulldog grip because you look like a bulldog sitting there. But yeah, it essentially it's a knee grip that helps things get really aligned with your arms when you bench press. So now the bar is more in the meat of your palms and it is more in line with your arm instead of potentially pulling you back or potential slip or any of that fun stuff. So explaining is one thing, but let's go ahead and see it in action for the third and final tip. So as I get set up here, you'll see with the Bulldog grip, it's a little bit different. So traditionally you kind of just rip it and grip it like this. The key with this grip is you want to turn your hands in. So the way I learned it is make a triangle with your hand like this, thumbs below the bar, hands in towards each other, and then just go out to your comfortable width. I'm 6'6", so my grip's a little wide, but you Bulldog grip like this, and if you'll see, the bar is resting on much more of the meat of my hands, so that when I bench, I actually am drawing more power up through my arms, through my wrist, because it's in a straight line with a good meaty grab. And that's the Bulldog grip for you. So here's a video of my top sets to put all that we just learned together and see what it looks like in action. Let's get it. Really all there is to it for that one. Flat feet gives you a nice solid base, a little bit more balance, but sometimes can cause an issue with your butt coming up. On your toes, the opposite. You might feel a little less stable, but you have more kind of think of your legs as a spring and you've coiled them up a little bit more with your feet up. All right, real ones, that was our quick little video today. 3 tips for a bigger bench. We have, don't be afraid of that back arch. We have play with your feet, and we have change your grip up. I'd love to see y'all put these into practice and let me know what you think. What are your preferences on the feet positioning? What have you found that I'm missing here on these tips? Let me know. Hit me up in the comments below, slide my DMs, whatever it is. And yes, this is a moment where I ask you to like and subscribe. Helps me keep fueling my ego. It's really important. It needs a constant drip feed of attention. It's kind of a thing. Anyway, appreciate you all. Stay sexy. Stay fucking real.
Watch my life pass